Walk into any professional job site and you'll see something interesting. Tool trucks parked outside, Snap-on and Matco logos everywhere, contractors carrying $5,000 tool collections. But here's what nobody talks about. Those same professionals have Harbor Freight receipts hidden in their trucks. Why? Because they've figured out something the tool industry desperately doesn't want you to know. Some Harbor Freight tools are identical to premium brands, just without the markup that pays for racing sponsorships and tool truck overhead. I've been in construction for 15 years, and I'm about to expose 10 tools that professionals quietly buy at Harbor Freight while publicly claiming loyalty to expensive brands. These aren't budget compromises. These are legitimate professional-grade tools that'll save you thousands without sacrificing quality. The contractors who know about these keep their mouths shut because they don't want competition knowing their cost advantage. The Quinn ratcheting wrench set costs $40 for a 10-piece collection. Professional mechanics see this price and immediately think it's garbage. Then they actually use one and realize Harbor Freight just exposed the biggest scam in the tool industry. These wrenches use the exact same 72-tooth mechanism as Snap-on ratcheting wrenches that cost $250 for the same set. Same gear count, same smooth action, same ability to work in tight spaces with just 5 degrees of swing. The difference? Snap-on charges you $210 extra for a logo and the privilege of buying from a truck that parks at your job site. I watched a diesel mechanic test these Quinn wrenches against his Snap-on collection. He couldn't tell the difference in a blind test. Both turned fasteners with identical precision. Both handled the same torque. The only way he identified his Snap-on wrenches was by looking at the logo. That's when he got quiet and started doing math in his head, calculating how much money he'd wasted over 20 years of brand loyalty. The chrome vanadium steel construction means these wrenches handle professional abuse. Drop them, throw them, use them as pry bars when you're frustrated. They keep working. The ratcheting mechanism stays tight after thousands of cycles. Professional techs report these lasting 5 years of daily shop use without wearing out. At $40, even if they only lasted 2 years, you'd still save money replacing them twice versus buying Snap-on once. But here's where Harbor Freight really crushes the competition. Their Hercules impact sockets. The professional grade set costs $120 for a 43-piece collection. Snap-on charges $600 for a comparable set. Milwaukee wants $450. Same chrome molybdenum steel. Same black phosphate coating. Same 6-point design that actually grips fasteners instead of rounding them off like cheap 12-point sockets. Professional mechanics use impact sockets daily. Air impacts, cordless impacts, breaker bars. These sockets take punishment that would destroy regular chrome sockets. The Hercules sockets handle 1,200 foot-pounds of torque without cracking. That's more than most cordless impacts can deliver. I've used these removing rusted suspension bolts, breaking loose crank pulleys, and persuading seized exhaust manifolds. They've never failed. The real test happened last winter. Removing a frozen brake caliper bracket in 15-degree weather with an air impact cranked to maximum. The bolt wouldn't budge, so I switched to a breaker bar and a 6-foot cheater pipe. That's the moment cheap sockets explode into shrapnel. The Hercules socket just transferred all that force into the bolt without complaining. The bolt broke free before the socket showed any stress. My old Craftsman socket would have split in half. Construction professionals know something about measuring that weekend warriors don't understand. Cheap tape measures cost you money, not because they break, but because they lie. A 1/16 of an inch error on 100 measurements means your wall is an inch and a half out of square. Harbor Freight's Quinn tape measures cost $12 each, and they're accurate to National Institute of Standards specifications. That means they meet the same precision requirements as tape measures costing $40. Professional framers buy 3 of these and scatter them throughout their tool bags. At $12 each, losing one doesn't ruin your day. The standout reaches 10 feet before collapsing, which matters when you're measuring ceiling height solo. The blade coating resists wear better than basic Stanley tapes. After 2 years of daily use, the measurements stay crisp instead of wearing off like cheaper alternatives. The belt clip doesn't break after a week, which immediately makes it better than half the tape measures on the market, but measuring is nothing compared to cutting. The Bauer circular saw costs $90, and it's been making DeWalt nervous since the day it launched. Professional framers use circular saws harder than most tools, ripping sheets of plywood, cutting pressure-treated lumber, slicing through engineered beams. This saw handles everything without bogging down. The 15-amp motor delivers 5,400 RPM at the blade. That's identical to the DeWalt DWE575SB that costs $180. I built an entire deck using this saw. Cut every joist, every board, every rail. The saw stayed cool, the blade stayed true, and the bevel adjustments held tight even after hundreds of cuts. The dust port actually works, unlike premium saws where it's purely decorative. Connect a shop vac and you'll actually see reduction in sawdust clouds. Professional contractors appreciate this because sawdust in your lungs isn't a good retirement plan. The electric brake stops the blade in 2 seconds. That safety feature used to be premium only. Now Harbor Freight includes it standard on a $90 saw. The included blade is surprisingly decent too. Most budget tools ship with blades that couldn't cut warm butter. This one actually cuts clean through 2x4s without splintering. Eventually, you'll upgrade to a better blade, but the stock blade works for initial projects. Speaking of projects, the Pittsburgh Pro reversible ratchet set costs $25 for a 3-piece collection. Professional mechanics need ratchets that work in impossible spaces, behind engine blocks, underneath dashboards, inside transmission bells. The reversible mechanism on these ratchets lets you change direction without removing the socket. Sounds simple, but it saves hours on complex jobs. These ratchets use a pair head design that fits into spaces that would defeat standard ratchets. The quick release button actually releases sockets instead of requiring pliers and cursing. The 90-tooth mechanism needs just 4 degrees of swing to move fasteners. Work on a modern engine bay and you'll understand why that matters. Everything is packed so tight that standard ratchets with bigger swing requirements become useless. Professional diesel mechanics particularly love these for working on heavy equipment. Changing injectors on a Cummins engine means reaching past fuel lines, wiring harnesses, and brackets that seem designed by someone who hates mechanics. A compact ratchet with minimal swing requirements turns an impossible job into merely difficult. At $25 for 3 ratchets, buying a backup set is cheaper than one premium ratchet from the tool truck. But ratchets need sockets, and Harbor Freight's Quinn Deep Socket Set delivers professional capability for $60. The set includes both standard and metric in deep wall configuration. Professional mechanics need deep sockets for reaching nuts buried on long studs, exhaust manifold bolts, suspension components, engine mounts. These sockets reach bolts that standard sockets can't touch. The 6-point design grips fasteners on all sides instead of just corners. This prevents rounding off bolt heads, which is critical when working on rusty equipment where fasteners are already compromised. The chrome vanadium construction handles impact tools without shattering. The size markings are laser etched, not stamped or painted. After 5 years in a professional shop, you can still read every socket size. The real revelation is the storage case. Actually organized, actually labeled, actually usable. Most socket sets come in cases designed by people who've never used tools. The Quinn case has clear markings showing exactly where each socket belongs. When you're working fast, that organization saves time. Time is money, and finding the right socket in 3 seconds instead of 30 seconds adds up over a career. Now let's talk about something professionals need but hate buying because it's expensive and boring. Jack stands. The Pittsburgh heavy-duty jack stands cost $30 per pair, and they're rated for 6 tons each. Professional shops use jack stands constantly. Oil changes, brake jobs, suspension work, transmission service, anything requiring crawling underneath vehicles demands reliable jack stands because hydraulic jacks fail and crushing injuries are permanent. These stands exceed ASME and PALD safety standards. That means they've been tested to hold way more weight than their rating. The ratcheting mechanism locks in half-inch increments from 12 to 18 inches. The wide base provides stability even on slightly uneven shop floors. The saddle is large enough to properly support vehicle frame rails instead of concentrating weight on small points. Professional mechanics own multiple pairs because serious work requires proper support. At $30 per pair, Owning 6 jack stands for larger jobs costs $180. Mac Tools charges $240 for 2 stands. Snap-on wants even more. Harbor Freight jack stands let professionals properly support vehicles without financing safety equipment. These aren't compromise tools. These are professional implements that happen to cost less than the competition. The Icon Torque wrench might be Harbor Freight's most controversial professional tool because it directly challenges premium brands in precision territory. This wrench costs $100, and it's accurate to plus or minus 3%. That meets or exceeds specifications for torque wrenches costing $300. Professional mechanics stake their reputations on proper torque specifications. Cylinder heads, connecting rods, suspension components. These fasteners require exact tension. I had mine professionally calibrated against a snap-on torque wrench at an independent metrology lab. The Icon measured within 2% across its entire range. The snap-on measured within 2% as well. Both wrenches performed identically. The $300 price difference bought nothing except a different logo. That hurt to discover because I'd been loyal to expensive torque wrenches for years, believing the marketing about superior precision. The Icon features a micrometer-style adjustment that locks settings precisely. The audible click and tactile release clearly indicate when target torque is reached. The reversible ratchet head works in either direction. The case protects the wrench during storage and transport. Every feature that professional mechanics need is present at a third of the premium price. But precision measuring goes beyond torque. The Pittsburgh dial caliper costs $20 and measures accurately to thousandths of an inch. Professional machinists, mechanics, and fabricators need reliable dimensional measurements, checking bearing clearances, measuring brake rotor thickness, verifying shaft diameters. The dial caliper handles these tasks with precision that rivals Mitutoyo and Starrett calipers, costing $100. The stainless steel construction resists corrosion from handling and shop environments. The rack and pinion mechanism moves smoothly without binding. The dial face is large and clearly marked for easy reading. The locking screw holds measurements when you need to reference dimensions. Professional machine shops use these Pittsburgh calipers for everything except final inspection on critical tolerances. For general measurement work, they're indistinguishable from premium alternatives. The depth gauge attachment reaches into holes and recesses. The step measurement jaws check shoulder heights and differences. Every measurement function a professional needs is present. At $20, buying multiple calipers for different workstations costs less than one premium caliper. Tool loss and theft become manageable expenses instead of catastrophic losses. Finally, the tool that convinced skeptical professionals that Harbor Freight belongs in serious shops. The Daytona aluminum racing jack costs $350, and it's better than jacks costing $800. Professional technicians use floor jacks dozens of times daily. This jack lifts 3 tons with ease, reaches 22 inches of maximum height, and weighs 56 pounds instead of the 80 pounds typical of steel jacks. The rapid pump technology lifts vehicles in just 3.5 pumps. That speed matters when you're working flat rate and every minute counts. The dual pump pistons deliver lifting force smoothly without jerking. The rubber saddle pad protects vehicle jack points from damage. The bypass and overload valves prevent overextension that could damage the jack or vehicle. Professional NASCAR pit crews use these Daytona jacks. That's not marketing hyperbole. Actual racing teams trust these jacks with million-dollar race cars and split-second pit stops. When professionals who work at that level choose Harbor Freight over premium alternatives, that tells you everything about real-world performance versus brand perception. The aluminum construction delivers strength without backbreaking weight. Moving a floor jack around a shop all day matters more than people realize. The lighter weight reduces fatigue and speeds up work. The steel jacks aren't stronger in practical terms. They're just heavier and harder to position quickly. The Daytona jack proves that intelligent engineering beats brute force construction. Here's what all these tools share. They're manufactured in the same overseas facilities that produce premium brands. The tool industry runs on dirty secrets, and the dirtiest secret is that most tools come from identical factories. The difference is markup structure and marketing budgets. Harbor Freight skips the tool truck distribution model and sponsorship deals. They pass those savings directly to customers. The professionals who figured this out are building tool collections for thousands less than their peers while maintaining identical capability. The stigma around Harbor Freight exists because expensive tool companies need you to believe their markup equals quality. They sponsor racing advertise heavily, and create brand loyalty through financing programs that trap mechanics into payment plans. Harbor Freight threatens that model by proving you don't need a second mortgage for professional tools. The contractors and mechanics who've switched are never going back. They're too busy counting the money they've saved and laughing at tool truck prices. Smart professionals build collections strategically. They buy these Harbor Freight tools that match premium performance, then invest savings in specialty tools that genuinely require premium brands. That balanced approach creates better equipped shops without financial strain. The days of choosing between proper tools and financial stability are over. Harbor Freight eliminated that false choice by delivering professional quality at realistic prices. The only question is how long expensive brands can maintain their markup before everyone realizes the truth. The math becomes impossible to ignore when you calculate total savings. A professional mechanic building a complete tool collection with premium brands spends between $15,000 and $25,000. That same collection built strategically with these Harbor Freight professional tools costs under $8,000. The $17,000 difference represents a down payment on a house, a new work truck, or simply financial breathing room that most tradespeople never experience. The performance difference between the two collections is negligible in real-world professional use. What changes isn't the quality of work, it's the financial stress. Mechanics and contractors who've made this switch report sleeping better at night knowing they're not buried in tool debt. They're not making $500 monthly payments to tool trucks. They're not stressing about replacing tools that break or get stolen because Harbor Freight replacements don't require financing. This financial freedom changes careers and lives in ways that premium tool marketing never mentions because they profit from keeping professionals trapped in endless payment cycles.